Before we get to our episode, I want to take a moment to tell you about a platform that is revolutionizing the way SMP artists market their clinics, and best of all, you don't need to spend money on ads to use it. The platform is called HighLead, and it's a complete sales and marketing system created by an SMP artist that is guaranteed to generate more bookings for your clinic. HighLead helps you capture, nurture, and close more business with dozens of features, including your own website chat widget, a unified text message, phone, and email marketing system, a review management system, helpful automations, and so much more. And beyond that, HighLead's team gives you one-on-one sales and marketing training, step-by-step onboarding calls, and responsive support. If you're ready to fill your pipeline with quality SMP leads, check out HighLead right now at gohighlead.com. You can get access to a 20-minute overview video to see behind the scenes, or book a live one-on-one demo with the founder to get all your questions answered with absolutely no risk or obligations. Check out gohighlead.com today. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Scalp Solutions podcast. I am your host, David Santiago, and today my guest is coming in all the way from Scotland, ladies and gentlemen, my buddy, amazing artist, Mr. Barry Tunstead.
Thank you, David. Blessed to be here. Thank you so much. I've been following a podcast, watching a podcast, big fan. I think it's an amazing thing you're doing for experienced new artists coming into the industry. It's a good thing. So pleased to be part of it, bud.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm happy to have you on. I know it's been some time, some communication. We got a lot of things that are going through. You're busy. I'm busy. We got the time differences, but we finally, got you on. I think the last time we ran into some technical difficulties. Was it me or was it you?
I think it was from my end. We've recently switched server, and we had a technical glitch. I think the video part was definitely from my side. So apologies.
All right. But we're here today, and
we got there in the end.
We're gonna kick it off. So Barry, just let the audience know your exact location and what is the name of the studio that you represent.
So we're based in Paisley, which is literally just outside Glasgow, in Scotland. Business name is Skulltec, Scalp Micropigmentation Limited, but Skulltec. It's quite a dominant, prominent name. It's one that sticks out. That was the whole kind of reason behind designing the business was, everything is sculpt this, sculpt that, sculpt this, sculpt that. So I wanted something to be, if you look at 10 different websites, I wanted that one to stick out. So we decided to get on the route of Skulltec. It's initially I thought it was a big risk using the name because, people associate skulls with death, but just something that was different. So I tried to merge the tattoo aspect with the kind of cosmetic medical aspect, and just put something in between.
Yeah, no, I love your logo, and going back to kind of like what you said. For the most part, a lot of artists, most share the exact same logo or some sort of like, one steals one thing from the other logo. But you said, is a little risky, I guess, from when you were thinking, because most people do associate the skulls with death. I think as artists, I love it, and that was one of my questions I wanted to ask. I love your logo, man. Like, tell me how you came up with it, and the concept. But you obviously answered that. But I will ask, like, the design of the skull, did you tell them, hey man, take my face and kind of make it as symmetrical like to me, or it was just like just give me a skull, put some SMP?
Yeah, I was really pernickety with the design of the logo. We've got everything branded, from doormats, business cards, branding on the wall, branding on the furniture, branding clothing. You know, we plan on opening more clinics. At the moment, we've got Devon, we've got Edinburgh coming up, we're going in Kent next. So uniformity, branding has always been a really big thing for me. But the branding, the decision behind the branding, I've got a tattoo background, so I've always had a fascination with skulls. Not that I'm creepy or anything, but yeah, just wanted to just something fresh, something different. You know, I came in with a different angle, and as I say, kind of I brought a bit of the tattoo aspect with the whole cosmetic medical aspect, and kind of merged the two together. So, but it's quite a. I mean, we've got contracts with Alopecia UK, we've got contracts with Beatson. You know, they do the due diligence. So, you know, when you're speaking to Alopecia and they're like, business name, you're like, Skulltec. They're like, ooh. Then they'll ask a few extra questions to make sure we've got insurance and licensing.
Yeah, they'll vet you out.
But yeah, it always kind of gets the eyebrows raised when you mention Skulltec.
Yeah.
But, no, it's a brand, and you know, in Scotland, and always over Google search terms, they're actually the second most searched Google search in Scotland, Skulltec, behind Scalp Micropigmentation. So we've managed to get a good brand name, good reputation.
Wow, that's awesome. That's actually not something that's very easy to achieve. So, you know, congratulations to you on it.
Thank you.
So what's your background like, Barry? Like, how'd you even come to know about the scalp micropigmentation industry?
It was actually my wife. You know, it's a guy thing. We never open up to other guys, communication. Hair loss really affected me. And I remember it was back probably 7, 8 years ago. My daughter actually said to me, she says, Dad, you're going bald. And I had, you know, I'm looking in the mirror, and, you know, and you're standing in the corner shop, and you're paying for your items, and they've got the little cameras in the corner, and you're kind of feeling the back of your head. Is that me on the back of the camera? So I went down the whole transplant route, looking at minoxidil for a ride, and yeah, because my wife actually came across this, and I would never ever have shaved my hair before. I mean, I was trying to hold on to what I had. I kind of was shaping it up into a mohawk, and, you know, not a comb over, it was more of a comb up in a way. But that was when I discovered scalp micropigmentation, and it was almost like a little light bulb moment. With my tattooing experience and running businesses and my hair loss, I booked the training and the treatment straight away, like almost without hesitation. It's almost, I've always had a vision, and sitting here with the clinic where we are today, that little light bulb, I kind of always had something to work towards. So it's basically my daughter, my wife.
So what were you saying? You have a background in tattooing. So were you like a full-time tattoo artist, or like medical tattoos? Like, what exactly?
Well, it was more art tattooing. I kind of dipped my toes. You know, the images I had in my head, I couldn't put on skin. Where it was, there was no room for development or anything. So it was very short-lived, but familiarized with myself with all the equipment and all the different colors and blendings, etc. I actually moved on from that and worked for another company. And that was the point where I found the scalp micropigmentation. And yeah, that was that's all history today.
Gotcha. And so how long have you been doing SMP now, Barry?
So we originally set up the business, started setting up the business 2017, websites, finding premises, etc. We actually registered the business 2018, the minute we had our license and everything facilitated in place. But I've been going now 6, coming on 7 years.
Outstanding. And how has it been like for you? What has your come up been like in the SMP industry?
I've always felt I've had a guardian angel, because I was treated one of my friends, a close friend, family. That was my very first, basically, model. And after displaying or posting that image, it's been a snowball, just getting bigger and bigger. And I'm not a fan, I don't really advertise. I'm not a fan of, you know, putting it under people's faces. I find it quite aggressive. So I've always made myself more searchable. And anyone that's done research, they've always come across us. But I was quite lucky, because for me, it was very fluent. I treated my mates, and was the minute those images went online, the inquiries started coming in, and it's been a really comfortable progression ever since.
Got you. So like you said, you don't do advertising. So is your system, like your business, running solely on a word of mouth structure?
I would say predominantly word of mouth. We do a lot of behind the scenes search optimization, building up. So, when a client actually goes online and does research, that's when we're coming up. But we don't put like Facebook ads, we don't spend money on Google, we don't throw anything at any advertising agencies, because personally, I wouldn't like to go on my phone and, hey, you've got hair loss, you can fix that. I would feel like my privacy's been invaded in a way. So my subtle approach has always been, if a client does enough research and, be searchable rather than go out looking for the business. But it's worked for me, but that's not to say it would work for anyone else.
Right, understood. So now, do you have any other clinics in like your immediate area, like competition?
Oh, we have 14, 15 around us. Glasgow, there's a lot of clinics.
Okay.
Most of the training classes we host are people from Scotland. We've probably trained just a little shy of 100 in Scotland alone, but I can probably rhyme off 15 at the top of my head at the moment within close proximity. So it really is a competitive industry in Glasgow.
Got it. I asked that question because I'm just, to understand like your approach to marketing. Obviously, you rely on word of mouth, which means you're offering an amazing experience because you're relying on that client to go out there and let everyone else, know about it. That's why I wanted to know, because we do know it's a competitive industry if you're in a small place. So like, we try to do everything that we possibly can to get in front of our, potential clients. I wanted to talk to you a little more. I want to kind of like focus on consultations, and I know we spoke behind the scenes, and I wanted to ask you, do you have a strategy for how you conduct your consultations, or is that something that you just go off the cuff once the client sits in?
I think every consultation is different. Every client's different. Everyone's hair loss is different. For me, consultation is an opportunity for a client to come in and get information. We don't put any pressure. We don't try and sign clients up when they come in. For me, it's a way to help educate a client, and they then go away, do the research. But I think that once clients know what to look for, it's an easy decision, because soft, subtle hairline, or if they're looking for a straight edge, color of the pigment, the density. Because I think when people mention scalp micropigmentation or hair tattoo, they envision this big tribal design on their scalp, and the partners are like, no, you're not getting that. But when they actually see how subtle and natural it actually looks, I mean, they probably walk past clients of ours without even realizing they've had the treatment done. So I'm very much an informative. I've had the treatment done. My hairline is a bit distinct, and I normally use my hairline in my consultations to show them, because every client comes in, they're like, wow, yours looks amazing. But then when we actually show them through our portfolio a soft, natural hairline, something that kind of benefits the face shape. So for me, it's an educational opportunity to give a client as much information as they need, because then they can go away, do the research, and when they do make a decision on what client they pick or what artist they pick, it gives them that confidence they've made the right decision. But we don't hound our clients, when they leave here, we don't send them messages, offer discounts. We leave people to make up their own mind. We don't put pressure on people.
Got it. Now, what are some key factors that you're looking to identify during your consultation?
I mean, it's a guy thing. I don't think guys communicate as much as we should, with mental health, suicides. So I'm quite happy to put my experience on the table. So generally when a client comes in, I talk them through my journey, what it made me feel like. But things like, I used to avoid social situations because, I was always a bit paranoid of maybe people looking at my scalp. If I went clubbing, I knew my head looked like a disco ball because all the lights would be glowing off my scalp. Approaching women if I was single, it really dents your confidence. So I kind of open up to guys in a way that I put my insecurities on the table, and I feel sometimes they relate to that, and then they might feel a bit more comfortable opening up to me, or they kind of confirm they feel that way. Maybe they won't tell me, but when they go home, they can relate to it, because hair loss makes us all feel the same way. We're in a very image conscious society now. Instagram, Facebook, we've all got to look like this, look like that. And I think the social pressure alone, is forcing a lot of guys to come out and get something done about their appearance. But really, this is a treatment that ignites something inside you that we even forgot went out, puts that spring back in the step, great for confidence, amazing for mental health. But so I think it depends on, again, the clients coming in, but it's a variance of all those factors we take into consideration.
Got it. So now, do you feel like you having S&P yourself, like that's like a tool that definitely helps you with to close a client?
I definitely think having the treatment gives you an advantage because you can see it in the flesh. It's like walking into a tattoo studio, getting a tattoo from someone that doesn't have any tattoos. You'd be a little bit, you do it for a living, but you don't have any, So it's, but again, this is something that I explain to people, for trainees, for clients. But I think it puts people at a bit more ease because I've actually been through the process. I can actually speak the truth and tell them exactly what they're going to go through. A lot of guys come in and maybe they have a little bit of growth, but I know if they shave their hair right now, they're going to struggle for a week before the treatment. So, coming in and shaving your hair here before we do the treatment, when they look in the mirror for the first time, they're seeing more hair. They're not looking at themselves thinking, oh, my hair's gone. So just little personal touches that I think it gives me a slight advantage. But again, that's just my opinion. I could be miles off, but I've always used my scalp as an illustration.
Yeah.
Happy to showcase my experience as well.
Yeah, for sure. And now, have you ever had to turn a client away because of these unrealistic expectations of them? Like, this is what
every day. So I think the problem with the industry is it's quantity over quality. Now, we get clients, unfortunately, coming in here on a weekly basis where they've had a treatment carried out somewhere else, it's too dark, or they've had density when they've lost too much hair. There's a very fine line. For me, I'm not a fan of doing density work because if someone's 25 and they come in and they've got thinning and they want to add density, in 5 years, they're going to have to shave that off and they're going to be left with black patches. So I think more long-term what's best for the client. And if I don't think that we can match their expectations, then we do what's best for the clients. We don't, we're a business. We're not here to turn away business. But if we didn't think that it was going to suit the client, then we would.
Got you. And now, so let's say, all right, now, that's a client who has an unrealistic expectation, during your consultation, and you turn them away. You're okay with that. You're not like, well, you know what? Yeah, I could, in theory, like I could give him what he wants. It's not going to look professional, but you're going to get the money, the $3,000, the $3,500.
The thing is, our reputation supersedes anything in this industry. We've won all these awards and everything, but for us, our reputation is more than financially driven. We actually, I've had a client last year who got in touch, came in, and we actually turned on the treatment. He got in touch with me about 8 months later, and I thought he was actually coming back to book. But the minute he walked in, I was like, oh, man. And he was like, I went for the cheaper option. The other guy's done it. And we had to get it all lasered off. And honestly, I couldn't put someone through that. So that's the only reason I would turn someone away, if they had unrealistic expectations, or if I thought they were going to progressively lose more hair and come back after having density work. So we're not that we're selective with clients, but we're open and honest with clients.
Got it.
But I think there's so many clinics around that, you know, they'll get it done elsewhere, but they end up coming back here saying, you're right, we wish we never done it. There's always reason behind if we do turn away business.
Got it. What's your perspective on, you know, during a consultation and you have a client, a potential client that kind of expresses interest in SMP, but is not quite ready to pull the trigger? Do you find yourself going into sales mode, like really trying to drive them in to close, or do you allow them to just, you know what, let them go on their own? I'm going to give them whatever information they need and let them make the decision.
Pretty much what you just said. So I don't see, I mean, I come from a sales background, but if a client comes in and he's kind of on the fence, we do everything to give up as much information as we can, educate the client. You can never make a client sign up. That's entirely up to them. And, you know, one of the biggest complaints we get is other clinics hounding clients. Then a week later throwing in a discount, and then a week later making a big offer. And they sit and think, why didn't they just offer that to us when we're at the consultation? Why a week later? So you could see how it could make a client think that a clinic was desperate if they'd done that. But for me, equipping a client with the right information and educating them on the treatment, talking through each step of the process and what to expect. I think managing expectations and signposting a client on the transition, because, you know, you might need to go to work on Monday and have slight redness, or, you know, you walk into the office and people will be having different conversations with you because they're trying to suss out what the change was. So we kind of talk clients through absolutely everything, what to expect. And I think once they have a full understanding and, you know, they kind of shield themselves behind what to expect for the weeks coming forward, and then they'd be more comfortable with their decision. But for me, it's informative, nothing else.
So how do you feel though? How do you feel about an artist if that was his, you know, their take on, once they have a client, a potential client in front of them, where they go into like a sales mode where like they're really trying to pitch hard and get them to close?
Hey you guys, we are excited to share with you some very exciting news. We have created an online training platform that you can do in the palm of your hand.
With over 20 modules and nearly 80 lessons, this is the most comprehensive and detailed scalp micropigmentation course out there.
For those of you who can't travel here, maybe you're in other countries, you can now learn from your computer, you can sit at home, you can sit in a bus, and you can learn scalp micropigmentation with the greatest innovators in this industry.
Want to learn more? Click the link below.
So I think there's two different types of artists. You get people coming into the industry who are financially driven. You know, they belong in a sales office and go out and get sales. But this isn't a sales environment. This is an environment where, you know, you've got clients that maybe have mental health, low self-esteem, confidence issues. You know, that I would feel would be taking advantage of someone that might be feeling a bit more vulnerable. I would never put anyone under pressure or try and sell. You know, we get a lot of clients coming in for consultations and they're like, right, can we get some dates? I'm like, look, please take another couple of days, have a think about it, do your research. We actually promote them to look at other clinics, do as much research, read reviews. That way, when they come back to us, we know they've done their homework, and I just feel that they're more 100% confident in their decision. I can feel that 1% tension in the clinic when a client's 99% sure and they're kind of sitting here, and I can feel that 1% tension. I don't want that atmosphere. I want this to be an enjoyable, pleasant journey. but I can feel that tension. So I think by signposting and, you know, giving them assurances and doing more research, they come in 100% confident and they're actually excited for the treatment. They don't walk in nervous, like, oh, I don't know how this is going to look, but they've got over all of that. So it's a really enjoyable atmosphere. A lot of our feedback is it's a nice laid back environment. You know, we've always got nice tunes on the go and good conversation. And I think our consultation process is a big part of that, because when they come back in, they know exactly what's happening. But I think when someone comes in and you're trying to sign someone up, I would think as a client, maybe they're quiet and they need the business, being a bit pushy. You know, for me, that's like an invasion of space kind of feeling. So I'm not like that at all.
Got you. So now you say you come from a sales background. I'd like to, and I just want to, you know, your perspective. You know, your opinion is your opinion. I often tell, you know, any artists or even especially the new artists, that when they're talking about consultations and how they're not good at sales, I tell them, you know, whether you like it or not, as an S&P artist, you are essentially a salesman or a saleswoman. Would you agree with that?
You know, I don't think you could teach someone to sell something. I think if you identify a need in a client, maybe, if, for example, any mental health or confidence, then, you know, there's a need for something that would help bring out or make them more confident. And this is an amazing treatment to do that. That was my need, was my confidence, my self-esteem. You know, I didn't think of myself rate myself very highly before my treatment. So in sales, I think if a client has a need and you have a product that suits that need, it's not a sale. It's but again, that's just my opinion.
Got you. No, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you have, like, I'm gonna get you to go into your little soul box now. Like, do you have, I understand you don't go into like sales mode, but you obviously have, is there a technique that you use to close your clients, and would you be able to share that with us?
You know, I talk about my personal journey more than most. You know, I used to wake up in the morning and I seen the hair in the pillow, the hair in the bath. I used to get in a lift to get up to work, and every day I looked in the mirror, I could see it thinning. My reflection in car windows was thinning. Especially going into the corner shops. So when you go into a corner shop in the UK, they've always got the big screen facing you. So when you look at that screen and you see the back of your scalp, you're kind of feeling your head to feel if it's you. So I kind of talk about my whole personal journey, what led me up to getting the treatment. And the person I am now and the person I was before the treatment is night and day. And I think a lot of clients can relate to my journey, because they'll relate to certain feelings I've had towards hair loss. And I mean, this is a treatment that sells itself. I mean, you look at the before and after images, the difference, it makes you look younger. But no, I don't have like a technique where someone would come in and ask these questions and go in for the kill. For me, again, it's just all informative. But I think anyone doing research, there's specific things you would need to look for, in particular the hairline, the size of the follicles, matching density. You know, if you've got an artist in mind and you're looking at his work, but his work's taken from so far away, you know, I would think, what are they hiding? Because for me, I can't get close enough to my work for a client to see. You know, just small things like that might help.
Got you.
But it's good that educating a client on what to look for, I think, gives the client the ammunition to then go away and make the right decision, what suits their needs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So essentially, your role on the way you go about your consultation is there's no script, you know, because we do know those exist, right? Like a script, and before you go in for the kill, you rely on what's pretty much is like the number one thing to do, and it's to bring them in and kind of have that bond, like that one-on-one. All right, hey, I shared your same experience. This is what I did to make it better. It should
Oh,
work
yeah.
for you.
I mean, I've got a few friends who have car salesmen, and they put the heating up in the sales room, so people are in there and they just want to get out, so they're happy to sign. I've heard of so many different techniques, and I've seen it over the years through different careers. But I think it's an unethical approach trying to get someone to force them into signing something where they're kind of on the fence. But for me, it's all informative. I'd rather put all the cards on the table. A client can go away, and once they know what to look for, they'll find an artist or a clinic that they have the right equipped education to make that decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, do you during the consultation, do you ever get clients ask you about the kind of pigments that you use, what kind of equipment that you use?
Yeah, I think when we promote, when we put up our before and after images, we normally tag all our suppliers. But sometimes the client will come in and maybe they don't know what pigment shade they're going to be. So, we've got pigment charts available, and we can run through the different shades of the pigment. Everything we use all organic and vegan friendly, which is important. Different types of hair loss, different stages, different times. So we do dissect everything. But again, that's why I say every consultation is different, because you'll have a client that might come in and want to specifically know certain things. So you've got to have that information to hand when they come in. But that's why I say it's very informative, because you want to make sure you've got all the information at hand for when a client comes in. But we do go into the pigment charts. We can have a look at the needles. Being a tattooist, I've always wanted to see needles being opened. So whenever I've, designed a hairline for my client, sitting down ready, I always make sure we open a fresh needle, just out of humanity. I would want to see that, because if I was in a tattoo studio and they were setting up behind me, I would be sitting here thinking, has this been a boiled needle? Or so, out of courtesy, I open a fresh needle in front of every client. And, there's a little plastic snippet on the needle. So when a client's not looking, I normally flick it to get their attention. So they know when they look at the needle, then I peel it open. So, it's more the things that I've set the studio up the way I would expect to walk into a place. I set up my equipment the way that, I would like to see someone set it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but no, I'm a bit of a creature of habit, maybe a touch of OCD, but everything's all routine and all set up and structured the same way. But I like clients seeing that we open fresh needles, everything's cling filmed, it's all new appliances we're using. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you mentioned about the pigment that you use, it being organic, and like what you do to let the clients know that you're using sanitary and fresh needles. What pigment do you use, and what are your go-to needles?
So I'm 5 p.m. shadow. I've always used 5 p.m. I've been trying a bit of Bishop. I've tried Olivio. I've tried Sepia, but I keep going back to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. for me, changing pigment is like getting divorced and remarried, in my opinion. It's like, unknown territory. You don't know the results. So what I end up doing is if I'm trying a new pigment, we'd maybe get a model to come in, I'd do a free treatment, and I'd maybe hold back on the color and build it up in layers. But I'm I'm a creature of habit, I'm very pernickety. So 5 p.m. is always my go-to. Needles, I'm going to try Eros at the moment. He got a lot of good feedback on Eros. Icon, I love Icon needles. They're very sharp. 5 p.m. needles are amazing. We use Bishop as well. I think needles are pretty much the same on standard, but I like the way I hold my machine. I actually use my middle finger right at the depth to help my depth control. So I do quite like the wee rubbery grip on the end of the 5 p.m. and the Icon needles, whereas the Bishop don't. So my finger kind of curls under the machine with those. So I think it's just down to personal preference, really, with the needles. But my go-to has always been 5 p.m.
Got it. So like, let me just, so what you're saying is if this was the pen, you use your middle finger as a base
Yes.
to establish.
So when
That's the
someone's
first time I've
using a
heard that.
pen, I mean, I see them working mid-air, and that gives me the heebies. So what I actually do is I actually kind of, my fingertip goes right down to the very tip where my finger's millimeters away from the needle. But when I'm working, I actually completely control my depth with my finger.
It's like a
Again, for me, it's peace of mind knowing that my depth is going to be consistent and we're going to get consistent results, because any variables with depth, you're going to get patchiness, different colors. You know, if your depth is exactly the same over the full scalp, it's going to be the exact same color with the pigment. So
very
technique I developed over the years. And I do show, when we have training classes, I do show people the way I hold the machine, but the hand seizes up in 5 minutes because it's a difficult way to hold it. But I've been doing it so long now that I can't hold it any other way. But when I do watch videos of guys, you know, kind of putting the impressions in midair, I'm like, it reminds me of going to the dentist and they're trying to put that kind of vaccine in your gum. And that's my biggest fear. And I'm like, oh, it makes my stomach turn. But it's, again, I'm very pernickety with the way I work.
That is a very interesting technique, and I, as you were saying it, I was taking my pen and trying to do it, and it's a very unorthodox movement. Like I would probably cramp up. So how long did it take you to get used to that, where it just became like muscle memory?
Well, I had, when I'd done my initial training, 2017. I mean, we're basically showing pigment shades, pressure, depth, spacing. That was it, you know. Back then, there was no soft hairline, straight edges. That's all developed over the years. But I'm a big fan in following other people's work. You know, I look at other people's work, study it, look at it, try and visualize the technique that they use. But I'm most comfortable holding the machine that way, because then, you know, eliminating me worrying about the depth lets me focus more on getting that perfect hairline or that perfect impression. So it's a technique I've developed more for my sanity, because when you're sitting with a client and, you know, you work away, especially when you're new and you're worried about going too deep or your depth control, you know, the technique I use to hold it, it's consistent. So all my treatments are very, very consistent. And I think not having that in the back of your mind, worrying about your depth, it opens up to focusing on hairlines and focusing on your spacing and getting your treatments perfect.
Yeah, that's one less thing to stress about amongst all
it's stressful. I mean, I don't think our clients realize the amount of pressure artists are under, because, you know, if your client's talking, and I'm quite orchestral when I talk and I move, and when you move your legs, if someone moves forward while you're working on them, you know, that's going to go right in. So again, that's why I hold the needle that way, because if someone did budge me, they're going to be hitting my finger and not the machine. So I always try and set up in a way that there's no incidents or there's no accidents. It's a protective shield or a protective technique I've developed just in case.
Yeah, there you go, man. And you know, I was gonna leave my last question to say, hey, before we go, Barry, can you give us like a little tip, trick, or advice? And there we go. You gave us
there you go.
how to avoid blowouts. But what I'll do is I'll ask is, before we do wrap it up, Barry, can you give advice to someone who was either looking to get into our industry, or someone who just finished their S&P industry? What's one good piece of advice?
For me, it's keep your hairlines a little bit higher, because you can always lower them. Keep your pigment shade a little bit lighter, because you can always darken as you go. You might run into an extra session here or there, but you're going to get the treatment, the perfect color, and you'll get the hairline that the client's expecting or what you want to achieve. So for me, it's take baby steps. It's quality, not quantity. 100%.
Outstanding. Great advice. Thanks, Barry. And before again we go, I want you to let everyone know where they can find more information about you and your clinics.
So mostly we're on Instagram, we've got a YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, website, skulltec.co.uk. You won't forget Skulltec, it's the brand name in the skull, but everything's on our website. And obviously this podcast now. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity, David. This is I've been really looking forward to this.
Thank you. Likewise. I know, like I said, we had some technical difficulties the last time, but we got it done. And it was looking forward to it. Barry, thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to come on the podcast and go over some consultations with us, because it's such an important topic. And I just don't feel like there's too much information, out there. And it's good to see how some of the successful artists go about handling consultations. And, you brought up a lot of important facts, is that, yes, you have your way and that's what works for you. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for the next artist, but it's providing them another piece of information that they can put in their backpack and choose whether or not they want to use it. So thank you, for that.
No, thank you. And again, right back at you, I think all these podcasts that you're doing, the new artists coming into the industry or experienced artists, picking little bits of information out of all your podcasts, it can only add to your technique, your development, your personal development. So I'm a big fan. I've been watching all of them, and I've learned a lot from the podcasts and hearing other artists. So I think it's the great thing you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, Barry.
It's been an absolute pleasure, David.
Yeah, likewise. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions podcast. Again, a special shout out to our guest, Barry Tunstead. There we go. I had it right the first time. Barry Tunstead over at he's at a Scotland. And that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Until the next time. Peace.
Thank you, Dad.
So feel me rain from behind. Black rain. Peace student in the game. Black rain. Through the struggles and the strain. Black rain. Elements of mine. To feel the rain from behind. Black rain. Peace student in the game. Black rain. Through the struggles and the strain. Black rain. Elements of mine. To feel the rain from behind. I'm sorta like a killer devil rebel. The getaway cars are the sounds of the bass and the treble. Cause I get into mine able and ready.